Okay, good evening, and welcome once again to the QuickBooks inventory part 2. And Mr. Shem, we're going to cover part 2, both parts, part 2. And basically, what we're going to cover in this class is building upon what we learned last time, how to create an inventory item. We created last time a tikkun Shavuos. Now we will create a Megillas Rus. And we are not going to add to inventory on hand. We're going to make some sales. And then that's the first part of tonight's session. And then the second part is analyzing how we can track the cost of merchandise to the income of merchandise, which is going to come in. Okay. Right now we have in our profit and loss reports, we'll see we did separate the income. We have what's called merchandise income and sales income, which you could change to service income. And we want to see what the merchandise is costing us by item. We know that that in general, merchandise is cost of goods, but we might prefer to have each item to see, are we making an item on this product or not? So taking a look here at some of the Q&A. Actually, I don't see any questions in here yet. I'm going to share the QuickBooks application. And we are going to open up to the home page. So we have the QuickBooks file out now on the home page. And from here, we're going to go to the company section. As we discussed in the top right corner of the home page, we have items and services. Okay, so we already know a couple of times that we could go to the drop-down menu from lists over here and go down to items on the top menu. But now we are going to go through the portal, through the link that comes items and services in the company menu. And we click on that, we're going to see so far the items that we have, which is basically the 4 services as well as the inventory part called tikkun Shavuos with the name TLS. What we're going to do tonight, we're going to start off, we're going to jump in with the Control N, which is the shortcut for making the new item. In this case, it's not just a service, but it's actually an item inventory part. Okay, this screen should already look familiar. And I left a part, so we're going to reinforce what we did last time with a little tweak. So the item over here again is MR. This is as if we had done TLS, we do MR because it's a new item. We're going to go down to the description. Description on the purchase transaction. When we purchase, it's going to be called Megillas Rus. And this time we're going to give the same exact name to the right side, which is the sales information. I already explained to you last time that by default it'll probably be the same, and you could have it showing up as different descriptions on your purchase order or on your sales receipt, and that will depend on what you write in these 2 description boxes. The cost we have here for Megillas Rus is $1, so we're going to do $1, and the sales price is going to be $3. So in a way, we are tripling our money from 1 to 3. On the other hand, we are all making $2 an item. On the tikkun Shavuos, we make $8. Okay, what else do we have here? We have the cost of goods. That's fine. We have here, we're not adding anything to on hand. But let us go before everyone runs away, let us change this date to 5/25/05/25, and it already assumes that you're in the current year. So we already know the shortcut for today. If you want to get to today's date, you just press the letter T, and it'll bring you today will be 11/30. If you want to go to any given date in the year, you just have to do the month and the day, and the year is assumed to be the current year. So if you would just go 0525, you don't have to put in the slashes. QuickBooks does that for you. You just go 0525 and the date, and they will already assume that's 2020. I'm going to pause here for a second. This basically takes care of, the income account is going to be merchandise. Okay, the income account is merchandise. So we did number one. If you're still in this screen, so there's already a question. Let's see here. How did we get here? Well, I got it from the home page. The home page went to the company section, items and services, and we did Control N. And we went to inventory part. That answers that question. Okay. So I'm going to do a small modification. I'm going to put a colon after the word merchandise, and I'm going to put in MR. Okay. So this is not on the script. I'm going to add it over here. Put merchandise colon MR. Okay, merchandise. Last time we created the word merchandise. And now we're going to put a colon after the word merchandise and put MR. What does a colon do? A colon signifies a sub-account in one shot, but you could only create one account at a time. That means if merchandise didn't exist, I can't write merchandise colon MR and create both of them at the same time. I would have to make two steps. First, I would create merchandise as an account. Once merchandise is an account and was already an account because it was already there, as indicated in the drop-down menu, you have merchandise, so you know it's there. So once we know merchandise is there, we put a colon and we put MR. That is a sub-account. And what is going to be my proof? My proof is when I press OK. When I press OK, it's going to tell me MR is not in the account list. No problem. So the same thing, I would have got the same message if I had typed merchandise. However, when I press setup, it's already going to show MR as a sub-account of merchandise because that's what the effect of the colon is. It is an income account on the merchandise end. And I'm going to press save and close. So we have here the MR. Its cost is segregated to the cost of goods sold. And the income goes to merchandise of MR. So we're gonna go back to cost of goods and do the exact same thing. We'll put MR here. So we have here now cost of goods sold. What is the account that we're billing the cost of groceries to? The sub account of cost of goods called MR. What is the account that we're putting the income to? Also the sub account MR. This is where I'm going to press OK and set up again. MR is not an account list, and then it's going to tell me again the same question. MR will be the cost of goods as a sub account. Save and close, and I'm going to press OK. If anyone has a question on this, let me know. I'm ignoring all the spell checks, or I can just close the box. And here we go. We have here now one more item called MR. MR has 0 on hand because we didn't put anything on hand. It's an inventory part, and the count that we bill, this is going to see the difference in the report. The TLS is merchandise plain, and the MR is merchandise sub-account MR. So the question that we have over here is, when do you choose inventory, when to choose services? The answer is, what is inventory? Inventory is an asset. It's something tangible that you buy and you are using it to resell and make money. So I take 100 of my dollars and I buy um, 40 reams of paper for 250 a piece. Now I have 20 reams of paper and I'm going to sell it now for $5 a piece. Those 40 reams of paper are inventory. It's not supplies because it's now I could have bought paper from my copier. When I went and bought 40 reams of papers, because that's the reason why I bought it, to resell it. If I buy 100 pairs of shoes in my store, I'm reselling it. So when I buy, 70 TLSs, or 100, 50 Tikkun Shavuos, I only need one. I need three. How many do I need? I need just a couple. So I'm buying a large amount is because I am reselling it. And for that matter, it doesn't have to be a large amount. If I'm a store and I'm ordering three to carry something in my store, it might not be a fast-moving item. That is inventory. Services is my time, or my labor, or things that I do, my expertise that I'm selling. So that is not that is a service, and I'll bill for providing the service, but that is not inventory. Again, we're going to stick to the. I'm afraid I can't help with technical issues with software. You got to deal with the company or the office, and the class is really discussing how to use the software. And please try to be on time because we can't keep on going back for people possibly close to recording. Okay, so let's see what we have over here. What we're going to do now is step 2, which is to receive items. Okay, last time what we did was we did the vendors, receive items, and enter bill. We did it in one shot. That was a TLS. That was step 4. Actually step 5 was we purchased, and I said that we purchased and received at the same time. Truck pulled up here. We're receiving items, and we're taking 100 MR from Machane Yerushalayim at $1, and 100 MR from the Karas Farm at 50 cents. I guess Machane Yerushalayim shipped it in from Eretz Yisrael, and they can't afford to sell it for less because they have to pay for shipping. Or the Karas Farm has they're trying to liquidate it, whatever the story is. And again, these names they might be publishing companies. I'm not sure that they actually deal with Megillah Surus. You get the point. Again, vendors and receive items. Again, so hopefully by now you created the inventory item MR. It would be showing up on your item list. Again, one last glance, what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to look like MR Megillah Rus, cost $1, sales price $3, and the COGS account, which is an acronym for cost of goods sold, is MR. MR is a sub account, and again, the income account is merchandise MR. And why do I do this? And notice that now you can't change on hand, right? Recall last time that when we do the on hand, you can only do the first time you set up the item. Once you go out, the item's not there. The assumption is if your cost is $1, then it's always going to be $1. That's going to depend on what's going to happen now in step 2, because step 2 is we bought 100 at $1 and 100 at 50 cents. So if we have 200 at $150, the average cost is 75 cents. So there are different ways to value inventory. One way to value inventory is by the specific item. I have 100 items that cost $1. I have 100 items that are tagged at 50 cents. So it's a specified identification method. And those are usually done by high-priced items, whether it's a vehicle or machinery that keeps its value. And then there's the first in, first out, which is FIFO. There's LIFO, which is last in, last out. I mean, when prices fluctuate, how do I value my inventory? What I buy first, that's what I sell first. And if the price goes down, so then I saved on the last item. Or if the price goes down, I made more on the first item, and only when I sell the later items do I go back and make less money. Those are three different options how to account for the inventory. And then there's the perpetual method, which is the average. QuickBooks is always going to use the average in general, the average method. Therefore, after we're going to put in the two orders, we're going to come back here and you're going to notice that your average cost is going to change from $1 to 75 cents. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so hopefully you have the screen in front of you and there's nothing on purchase yet. There's nothing on sales yet. And we're going to vendors, receive items, and we're going to do two bills in two item receipts. Okay, it's because of the item receipt. It's not a bill. A bill means that we're billed for an item that we are actually receiving at the same time, right? Vendor, receive item, and enter bill. Here, we're not entering a bill. We're only receiving an item. So we're going to type in the words Malchon Yerushalayim. And I'm going to press tab and I'm going to set up a new quick add. The quick add is automatically be a vendor because we are in the receive. The date is 5/25 because I changed it before. Even though I didn't put anything on hand, I made the date sure the date was there. Now, we are not entering the total of the bill. We don't know what the total of the bill is, but what we do know is we're getting item MR. Okay, so if item MR is the inventory part called Megillas Rus, we're going to press tab, and automatically we know that our receipt should cost $1. Why should the receipt cost $1? Because the assumption is when there's no quantity, it's 1, right? Cost is 1. The extended amount is 1. This is the inventory box. You check on the inventory box, and there's 0 inventory, 0 on hand. We close it out. I'm going to add in 50. What happens when we put 50? So then the cost is $1 a piece. Since it's 50, the extended amount is $50, and that is our receipt. It's not a bill yet. It's going to become a bill, and I will show it to you in a moment. But let me close this out and go back to the inventory item and show you how now we have 50 items in stock. 50 items in stock because we received 50. And what is the average cost? The average cost is still $1. And now that on hand is 50. That's how QuickBooks keeps track of our inventory. When you receive items, it raises the amount on hand. When you sell items, it reduces the amount on hand. And the average cost is $1. If I go back to the vendors, and I receive another bill, I'm saying not another bill, item receipt, and we write now Makara Sepharim. Makara Sepharim is here, because that's where I think we got a tikkun Shavuos last time. Yeah, we got it. So the company's already there. And I'm going to put it by them to MR. Maybe Makara Sepharim is giving us a discount because we bought for them also tikkun Shavuos. Whatever the reason is, I'm going to put 50 over here as well, but I'm not going to save it until I change the cost to 50 cents, 0.5. It's a half $1. Actually, sorry, the amount is 100. Amount is 100 at 50 cents, and it's the same bill. It's not. The amount is $50. So we had one bill again, not a bill. We had one item receipt, which would have been a total of $100. That was one before. That we put 100 MR from the Malchon Yerushalayim at $1. Now we have another item receipt, which is Megillas Rus, 100 at 50 cents, and the amount is $50. Save and close. And now we have, one second, why is there 150 here? There must have been an error. Let's go back. Oh, the first invoice I put was, the first one I received was Okay, let's go back again to vendors. So go back to vendor center. Again, and someone's going to ask you in a moment, how do we correct a mistake? So this is how you correct a mistake. Go to Merach Yishalayim, and we change the amount received to 100. Right? I put in 50 at $1. It's really 100 at $1. Okay, so if you noticed that mistake before, your question is answered. Okay, you've changed the transaction. It's not in balance. Okay. Only the first time you enter it, it automatically calculates the amount in the receipt. Once I make an edit, I have to go manually to the top and put in the 100. Okay, so these are all things you guys someone's going to say, oh, what I do, what does it mean not in balance? Now you know what it means. When I create, the same thing will be if I enter the bill or I do item receipt, and the same thing will be by an invoice. Same thing will be by an expense. When you put items in the bottom, it automatically calculates what should be on the check amount or the receipt amount. But if you save it and then you come back and edit it, you have to manually enter the amount on the top. So now we changed the 50 to 100. So here, it's like a calculator. It goes 100 times 1 is 100. But on the top, it was a manual adjustment, so we have to change it. Okay, so now this is going to look okay, and I'm going to go over to question Q&A in a second. What do we have now in our inventory? How do we go to inventory? In our item list. Our item list is one of my windows still open, which is one of the advantages of software. Every window you have is still open. We still have a balance sheet open. We still have a cost percenter open. My item list is going to show me 200. 200 because we received 100 from Machar Yerushalayim and 100 from Makar Sfarim. And now if you go into it, the item on hand is 200 and average cost 75. And this ties out with step 2. Okay. Let me look at any questions. I'm going to pause now and give everyone a chance. If anyone has a question, how to enter it, feel free to shoot a Q&A on the chat, not on the chat, on the Q&A forum. What we're doing is after we create the inventory MR and we made the sub accounts of cost of goods MR and merchandise MR, is to receive items. Again, how do we receive items? Vendor, drop down receive items. And we enter two different A and B. It's two parts. You could do save and new. You don't have to go save and close. Go save and new. After you enter the 100 from Machar Yerushalayim, and you're going to put in the 100 for MR. I'm going to pause here and see what. Again, so the same thing as someone asked, when I originally had entered 50 MR from Machin Yerushalayim at 1 instead of 100, and then I went back and I changed it. So the same thing again. If it's an invoice, you're looking at customers. If it's a bill, you're looking at vendors. If it's an item receipt, it's also a vendor. So I went to the vendor center, and just like we had Amazon and Ami and Comedison, which were all the people that provided us services, same thing is we have Machin Yerushalayim, who has a bill. We have a bill for $100. Why is $100? Because I had double clicked on it and I changed the quantity from 50 to 100. If you're only doing it now, then keep in mind, and by you it still says 50. Keep in mind you have to manually adjust the total over here in the total section to what amount is here, which is $100. That's generally how you correct things. You open it up and you write over. Now, one thing that you should be aware of that QuickBooks has what's called an audit trail, which means it keeps track of all the corrections that were made, whether it's in QuickBooks, whether it was you originally made an invoice for one amount and you made it for less, you had expense for a smaller amount, you made it for more. Could have been the vice versa, but if the effect is that you're reducing income and you're increasing expenses, which obviously would mean that you are lowering your tax liability, QuickBooks keeps a track of all these things and it stays in your books. So there's something to be aware of. Obviously, if it's legitimate, you have nothing to be afraid of. But if you should, that's something to take note of. Okay, I've seen a couple of questions from MA, but what's an amount and sub account? I'm not sure what you have to specify the question. And I don't know what chart are you referring to? If you go to lists and items, this is the chart. Everyone should have the same chart. You have 6 items, 2 of which are inventory merchandise, and you have 200 inventory of MR and 45 of TLS. Now this is about to change because we are going to be selling. We're going to do two things in 3 and 4. First, we're going to create an invoice for Mr. Gabay for 151 MR, which is $453. Now, obviously, by now it should be intuitive to you that you're creating an invoice means that there's going to show up an accounts receivable for Mr. Gabay. You're not receiving money from him. He is a Gabay official, and he is going to be selling it. At the same time, when we're making a sales receipt for 5-ish glick, we are not creating an invoice. He doesn't owe us money because he's paying us on the spot. So the money that we see from 5-ish glick for 1 MR, which would be $3, it's going to show up in step 5 as undeposited $3. Because if you make a sales receipt, it means you received money and you gave him the item. So you're going to have undeposited funds $3 because you received the $3. But by Mr. Gabay, it's going to be accounts receivable for him because you're selling him 453. And if you add up the TLS he took last time, his accounts receivable should be as what we're going to see soon. So I just gave a preview of what the next few steps are in the inventory part 2. So make sure you're doing receive items. If you receive items and enter bill, you're going to have a different chart here. First you're going to show here first of all, you can edit the credit because you're not receiving a bill, you're receiving a credit. You're going to have here item description, quantity, cost, because right here, as opposed to item description, quantity, cost, as opposed to the item quantity, cost, you have what's showing up differently here. amount of customer billable. The right three is amount customer billable. You have received items. Second. Let's close this out. Because the tags are the same. So if you notice over here, it shows if you do vendors receive items and enter bill, it says the bill received. And when you go to receive items, something changes over here in this picture here. And this looks different. It says in the memo, received items and bill to follow. And bill is unchecked, and that's why since bill is unchecked, bill is not, can't touch that over there. Okay. That's why if you receive items enter bill, you could pay the bill already. Where would you find pay bill? In the vendor section. In the vendor, pay vendors. Was this pay bills? On the pay bills, you'll pay the vendor. Now let me show you the difference between. I'm going to close this out between what happened last time and this time. When we went to Mokar's farm, the first thing was a bill because we double click on it. The first $100 was a bill because we received TLS Tikkun Shavuos. Bill received. If you go to vendors pay bills, it's going to come up. Mokar's farm is going to show up $100 because we already received the bill. Because we already got it a few days ago. In this case, we did it 5/25. So the due date is 6/4 because we already have, by assumption, it's 10 days later. Maybe it's 31 days. So the bill shows up. The Makar Mechon Yeshalayim from today for $100 and the Makar's farm from today for $50. What I mean today, meaning for the MR, that's not showing up in the bills because we never even became the bill. We didn't receive the bill from the company. What it shows is item receipt, right? It's item receipt. Now, what you could do is, would be the next step. If you open item receipt and you say enter bill for received items, right? We didn't do that yet. Right? So far, we did receive items and enter bill. That's what we did last time. We did today receive items. Now, if we would do enter bill for received items, it will convert this $50 bill, the item receipt of $50 to a bill of $50. Now, who's the vendor for this item receipt? Right? This item receipt, obviously, it's going to be Makar's farm, obviously. And we're going to use the receipt date for the bill date. That means if you would put the item receipt date 5/25, and then a half a year later, you're going to put the bill date, that means you're going to get yourself a free half a year. But if we do the item, we check the item receipt date for the bill date, it's going to do the bill as of 5/25. And save and close. One second, what happened here? Let's do this again. I wasn't here. We skipped a step. Again, enter bill for received items. Oh, I didn't click on this thing here. This is we click on this. You might have had a number of item receipts, right? Choose the item receipt which corresponds to your bill. You might have gotten several orders. So now I'm collecting this one from 5/25, and now to change my item receipt into a bill, it converts it to a $50 bill. Due at 6/4, and when I close, you have changed your transactions. We'll record it. Yes. Now, what said before item receipt becomes a bill. It converted the item receipt to bill. Now we have two bills. And if I go to vendor pay bills, they'll both show up. The Makara Sfarim for $100 and the bill for $50. You see, Makara Sfarim for 100 and Makara Sfarim for 50. Let me pause here and give everyone a chance to. Well, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to create the invoice. I'm going to reinforce the same skill that we just did under Machin Yerushalayim. We're going to vendor. But truth is, you don't even have to be in the vendor center on the particular vendor. You could go just vendor, enter bill for received items, and choose the proper vendor. Because right, if I highlighted National Grid, automatically come National Grid, but I could change that. 23. Machin Yerushalayim. Right? If I change Machin Yerushalayim, it assumes we know we have one bill. And now I'm going to uncheck receipt date for the bill date. Let's see what it does to that one. So, but again, don't lose the invoice, the item receipt. Okay, so look again. Machin Yerushalayim. Let's go back. Machin Yerushalayim is an item receipt. Once I enter a bill for the item received, okay, I'm not going through the process of entering the bill for the items. That's already in the system. I'm creating a bill for the item receipt. Choose the item receipt which corresponds to my bill, and it's going to change item. It's going to make a bill and change the item receipt to a bill. Right? You just saw that, how it changed item receipt to bill. And if I go to vendor center, I'll have three bills to pay. One for Machin Yerushalayim for $100, and two for Makara Sfarim. Right, one for 100 and one for 50. Okay, I'm going to pause now for some Q&A. And we're still holding step 3. We didn't do step 3 yet. We received items and then we entered a bill against the item receipt. That's what we did. Okay, I'm going to ask, okay, I mean, like 5 questions. So you can ask the question because we keep going back and forth. I enabled your audio if you want. You can ask your question. Hello.
I wanted to know on the, when I tried to put the item receipt, the bottom chart was different than yours. It says account, amount, memo, and customer job.
Let's see, receive items. What do you have there?
The item receipt, I have account, amount, memo. I don't have quantity, different than yours. It's not, there's no, yours is item, description, quantity, cost, and amount.
Right.
Here it says.
Do you have on the top of print, attach, PO, clear splits? You have this on the top the same?
What is it?
On above item receipt, you have, first of all, which software are you using?
Same. The top is the same. Just the bottom chart is different. It says account, amount, memo, and customer. The top is totally the same.
Um,
The item receipt.
1 second here. You're going to vendors. And where you
Right.
go, the drop down, which section you going to?
Receive items.
Receive items. And you don't have item and description. You don't have item and description in your chart, right?
No, only account and amount. And then memo and customer job and
Account. I don't even have account.
that's interesting.
You have accountant as the 2020. And in your item list, you have the same items. You have
1 second.
you have inventory parts.
Yeah, I have the bookkeeping, the general
No,
counseling.
do you have okay? If you have, do you have types which are services and inventory parts?
Let me see. Yeah, services and inventory parts. Yes.
The two inventory parts, and when you go to the vendor, receive items, you don't have this charge. Okay, you have the expenses tab. Click on the items tab.
Oh, okay.
Two tabs here.
And also I see that the MR is not on the list for some reason.
MR is not in your drop down.
Not on the list of items.
Then we created it today, right at the beginning.
But I did create it. Maybe I didn't write it in the description. That's why it doesn't show up.
No. You could leave the description blank. You don't have to give a description, but you have to have an item.
So why it's not appearing?
Go back to items and let's double check. Yeah, what are the inventory parts? What are the items and services?
I have the TLS and the bookkeeping, the general, everything. I have everything.
Do you have two? You have. Did you create two? You have two inventory parts?
Only one. Only one.
So you didn't create the MR.
The MR is missing.
Right. You didn't create. That was the first step of tonight. Was create MR. That's how we walked through. Create sales was one. Sales cost is one. Sales is 3.
Yeah, I did that.
Maybe they didn't save it. Check your windows.
Maybe so.
Check your drop downs, your windows. If you have, otherwise, you could do Control N, which is no. And
yeah.
If it's going to ask you that you're in the middle of something, then say go back. Then don't change. Then
Control N on this screen.
In this screen, we do Control N. The screen that I'm open now with all the items.
Okay, maybe I didn't.
If it gives you a prompt that says you're in the middle of doing creating an item, then don't.
It says the data has changed. Do you wish to save it?
Yeah, say yes. What's your data?
Okay, so maybe yeah. So maybe Let's see if it's recorded it now. I'll go back to the list and see if it's there. Item list. Yeah, now it's here.
Of course, it's a carryover. It's a flow through.
Okay.
All right.
Fine. And the other one, I go back to receive items, and I have to change it from expenses to what?
No, there's 2 tabs. Go to the items tab.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay, fine.
Because we're not doing expenses. We're doing
right.
inventory.
It was on the expenses. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So I took care of those questions. Okay, let's do it this way. Okay, so I'm going down the list. If it's a quick question, I'll be answering it myself. But something which I need clarification, I'll be enabling the audio. So you want to know what I just corrected. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
The Makar has farm,
Right. So what's the question?
bill, and then item receipt, and then you change something.
Oh, I changed the item receipt from just receive items to enter bill for received items. Perhaps that's what I did.
Had it.
I don't know how many minutes ago you go. You go back like 10 minutes ago. Was it that I wrote first 50 instead of 100, or
No, it was after that, and then
probably I go to vendor section and I was showing McCar's farm. You have item receipt or you have two bills?
I have item receipt.
Okay, so that's what I did. What we did was we went to vendors and we entered bill for received items. So like I explained in the beginning of last class, when you receive item and enter bill, you're doing both at the same time. You're taking possession of the inventory and you're entering the bill at the same time. The next two tabs are broken in half. First, you just receive items, which means you have the inventory without an actual bill. And when you enter bill for received items, you're not getting new items. The items are right there. So inventory is not going to change. But what you are doing is you're putting a bill against those received items, and they'll ask you to highlight which item receipt you want to correspond to that bill. So that's what I did. I did enter bill for received items. So in the case of Cars Farm, you would have a drop down here, one date.
And
I
should
don't
highlight it?
I don't have it. Yeah, yes, you'll highlight it. I don't have it because I already converted it from an item receipt to a bill. You'll press OK, and that's all there is to it. So someone wants to know, why do we change it to a bill? Because you can't pay it until you convert it to a bill. Sometimes it can happen that you're receiving items, but the person who receives it doesn't know the actual price, so he doesn't put in the bill. There might be an in-house discount that you know about, so you don't want to just perhaps enter the bill and some person just come and pay out bills. You do want to put on your inventory chart that you have the item, but perhaps someone in the higher ups will adjust or negotiate what the price should be before they actually, once you put the bill in the system, that's the bill that you're going to pay. So that could be one of the uses of such a two-step process. So do you have a further question?
I
Kathy?
did that, but it still didn't change.
What happens? So you click, you have to highlight the item receipt and press OK. One time I went off it and then unhighlighted it. If you're in McCar's Farm, you have to highlight exactly what I did. Vendors, enter bill for received items will bring a drop down, and you click under the date. There'll be something there. You press OK and save and close. Obviously, you have to press save and close, because when you press
Right.
OK, all it's going to do is going to open up the bill. And you'll see now, instead of item receipt, there'll be bill. You have to save and close it. When you press save and close, then it's going to convert item receipt to bill. So let me know if that works in your end as well.
Still not going.
So what happens when you have this window that I have? Because I assume you have to
Yeah.
going back.
I
to
have
my,
the 0525.
Yeah, and what happens when you click on it and press OK? What happens?
It takes me to item receipt.
No, it should bring you. It should open up to bill. That's what you're doing. What you're doing is this is the process of creating a bill out of an item receipt. So this question is choose the item receipt which corresponds to your bill. So you're clicking on that, you're pressing OK. It will open up as a bill. And then when you save and close it, that's actually going to convert what says here in your window on the vendor information. The second line, which is item receipt, should then change to bill.
It opens up the item receipt.
Okay, you should probably close the windows and try it again. Then again, it's vendors, enter bill for received item. Enter bill for received item, your Makaris farm. And you have a date. Does it say in your memo? It says
Received items built to follow.
received items built to file. Yes, so you could, and it's highlighted. You pressed
Yeah.
OK. And what
It's
happens?
still green.
Huh?
It takes me to an item receipt. Oh, now it shows up a bill.
Bill, good. Press save and close, and then the where it says in this vendor information should change to bill.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, good. And what's the benefit now that it's in bill? That when you go to vendors, pay bills, you're gonna see that's gonna show up. The cars for, you know, the 150 is there. You know, we can have
Yeah.
someone call you up. Why didn't I get my check yet? Well, I never got a bill. You never sent me a bill. You know, sometimes they might give it to you on consignment. You know, the vendor says, take it right now. I'm not going to bill you for it. If you sell it, I'll send you a bill. Right? So you receive the items. It's on your books as inventory, but he never billed you for it. So,
Right.
okay, so fine. I'm glad we worked that out. Let's move on to the next. Go on the list. So I'm going down the Q&A first before I go to raised hands. How do we get to vendor information? That's vendor center, right? This vendors, and the menu is vendor center, or from homepage, you go to vendor center. Okay, so that should answer that question. Someone has a bill for, I'm not sure why you have negative $100. Bills should show up as positive numbers. So the customer has 100, receipts for negative 1550, 250. The answer is for Mr. Rappaport that the $100 item receipt is not Makaris Farms, it's Machan Yerushalayim. That's step 2A. So all you gotta do is double click on that other item receipt, which says 100. And when it opens up, change the vendor to Machan Yerushalayim. Let me know if that solves your issue. Unless you created two, like, you know, in Machan Yerushalayim, and then you did it again for Makaris Farms. Under vendor, I have one Makaris Farm. What I have in the vendor paid bills is I have two different bills, right? I have a bill that was first entered at $100. And because, hey, this is the way it works, interestingly enough. Even though I converted the bill from Makaris Farm from $50 before I converted Machan Yerushalayim's, but because I put in the item receipt first, Machan Yerushalayim, later on, when we how do we say? Later on, when we convert the item receipt to a bill, it does an order of entry. So I have, that's like once Makaris Farm, because even though alphabetized Machan Yerushalayim is MA, I could sort it actually that way, but I didn't sort it. It's right now it's sorted by date due. And in 6.4 itself, it's the way it was entered. That's why Ami Magazine, even though it's A, because it's only due in November, Ami's at the end, right? Now you can say National Grid, N is after A, but National Grid's invoice was put in before Ami Magazine if you go back to it. But if you would really sort it by vendor, what's it called? Filter by, right? Right now it's sorted by due date, but right. But if I would sort it by show all bills there, but so that's the way it's sorted by due date. But if I would filter by Makaris Farm, it would come up under Makaris Farm. I could sort it by vendor, right? So I'm not sure why they're driving me crazy here. Let's take this. Let's go back to all vendors. Now, if I go under all vendors, Ami's first, and then Connections, because going alphabetical order. Machan Yerushalayim comes before Makaris Farm. But if I sort by due date, it's going to bring it back that Machar Shalem comes in the middle because we entered them in between, right? Malkar Sfarim first one was last week's entry. It happens to be the due date because we backdated the 525. So that should be in. Okay. Again, Malkar Sfarim Machar Shalem didn't buy; they sold us. Okay, so if you already did it by enter bills and receive item of the bills, it's done. I just went through a process of showing you how to receive items without a price and then to convert it to a bill. Okay, so someone already gave the answer that I said about expenses, not items. So you're going to list. Okay, so create a line. That was the answer. Okay. Now that we got through step 1 and 2, now we're going to create an invoice and a sales receipt for some of the items we have over here. Let's go to this. Again, from any window, Control I will always mean an invoice, right? As opposed to Control N, it depends on which window you're in, what new you're doing. But in this case, we're doing Control I for Mr. Gabai. There's no Mr. His name is Gabai because his name is Rabbi Gabai. It seems like the last time I had Mr. And the date, we're still leaving at 5/25. That's the assumption what the date is. And we are putting a quantity of 151, and the next thing is MR. And we're going to show you that we know that we have 200 MRs in stock. After I do this MR, and then do the next sales receipt for another MR, which means we sold 152, we should then go back and find only 48 on hand. Let's see if that's going to track correctly. And this bill we said is $453, so we're going to save and not save and new, we're going to do save and close. Because as I said before, what we're doing for 5-ish Glick is a sales receipt, not an invoice, okay? We're closing a bunch of windows here. Okay. Let's close out. Okay, so again, right now I should be going back to the home page. Let's see if it's the home page going to show up. I think that was a quick resume share. Okay. Okay, I'm on the home page. I think my share had stopped for a moment, but what I just did was I created an invoice for Rabbi Gabai. So I'll just go back and show you where that invoice is. Rabbi Gabai has an invoice now he had before for 1,012. That was the last time we bought the TLS, plus the general consulting, et cetera, and his invoice for today, which I put in 151 MR. It's showing up as past due because the date is 5/25 and today is 11/30. But in reality, we just entered it today, 453. That's 151 MR at $3. If you already entered it, you could go and just do what I wrote in step 5, which is how do you change an invoice? He decided. The guy was walking out of the store and he saw him 5-ish Glick buying it for $3. Says, why is he buying for $3 and I'm buying 150? I want a discount. I can't pay the same price. So the guy said, okay, I'll give it to you for 225. And now his invoice is dropping from 453 to 339, save and close. Again, you could do this in order, or you could do it as I had it open. Okay. Customers, enter sales receipt. Again, this is step 4 from the papers. Enter sales receipt for 5-ish glick. 5-ish glick. Discard change. Okay. 5-ish glick 4. The items that are here in a sales receipt, you put the item first and the quantity later. And let's check on the quantity. And when we see what, lo and behold, we have 49 left. And that makes sense. We had 200, we sold 159, we have 49 left. It all adds up. The wonders of QuickBooks, tracking inventory. Okay, and we're gonna save and close. Now, I wrote here at the end that we have a certain amount of accounts receivable and a certain amount of undeposited funds. I'm going to alert you to the fact that obviously we are going to show a $3 undeposited funds because we just sold $3 to 5-ish glick. But we have other undeposited funds that we had not deposited from previous sales. You may want to put it into your bank account now if you'd like. But I'm going to, what's it called? If I would go, how would we do that again? Remember, a long time ago, banking, make deposits. Banking, drop down, make deposits. I'm going to see a few things here. We have the $70 from 5-ish glick from last year. We have Rabbi Cohen's $100. We bought last week the TLS. 5-ish glick who bought TLS, Holtzklopper, and Rabbi Cohen had paid up cash on his item receivable. So we could deposit, but you do see the $3 for 5-ish glick. So let us try to do all the deposits as date receipt, one at a time. That means we're going to highlight the 12/28/2019, press OK, and change the deposit date 12/28. But you have to add 19 because if I just press tab, that's going to assume it's 2020, right? And we said that. So we have to go 12/20, I'm sorry, 12/28, 19. You don't have to put 2019. 12, the 19 is enough, 2-digit mode. And I press save and new. And I keep on making the deposits, right? We have the 525 of Cohen. We're going to put in the $100. I'm going to do it again and again. So you could just follow and you can, as you go along. Whoa, there was the date here, 525. 525. And this is already this year, save and new. We have again 525. If it's from the same date, you could make 2 checks together and make it as one combined deposit. I'm just thinking today, it used to be you go to a bank and you give them like 10 checks and they deposit it, as one large amount and you go into breakdown today. But if you do mobile deposit, every check is getting its own deposit. So if you're going to combine your deposits and then try to match it up, you say, wait, it doesn't add up. So actually, I'm not depositing $3. I'm depositing the $75 from 11/11. Put 11/11, and the year is automatically there. And I'm going to put in the 11/25. So let's do 11/25. So save and close. So I left the $3 as I wrote, and then the 5. We're going to be left with $3 undeposited funds. How are we going to prove that? By going to our balance sheet. On our balance sheet, we'll be able to see should be account receivables 1567.25, undeposited funds $3. And if we're wrong, the moment the truth will show up. Let's see what happened. Okay, look at this. 1567.25 accounts receivables. Undeposited funds $3. Beautiful. Inventory asset 126. What's the value of our inventory? Well, we know we have, if you want to do the math, you could break it down in your head. We know we have 45 TLSs left. It costs us $2, is $90. And we have 48 MRs, 75 cents, right? That's the average, 0.75, if you recall what the value of our inventory. 0.75 times 48 is 36. Oh, seconds, $36. So the $36 value of MR plus the $90 value of TLS is the 126. Now you can break it down. You could say, I want to know not just my general inventory asset. I want to know by item what is my inventory asset. And we can do that, as we will show in the inventory part 2 in the evidence. But I will show you that we already actually did this in the P&L. We're going to go to the company and financial profit and loss report. And you will notice, what do we do here? We're going to notice we want to have this fiscal year's P&L. Look how we have income and merchandise, right? We have two types of income. We have income from merchandise sales, and we have from sales, which we could change to service. So we'll know how we track our income, service income and merchandise income. Now we have two types of cost of goods. We have the MR cost of goods, which is Megillus Firus, and that cost us $114. We have other cost of goods, $70. Does this make sense? Not quite. So let's see here. Oh, merchandise collapsed. So we have the merchandise MR and we have merchandise other. So you could assume that the merchandise other is referring to the TLS, which again, we could go back and change it. So you could break down. The idea was why I did the combined entry before for sub account. We want to see if our merchandise income of MR, which is 342, is more than our cost of goods of MR, which is 114. And it says yes. How do we make income 342? Well, if we sold to Mr. Gabai for $339.75, that was his invoice, right? You could go back to you could do it multiple ways. We go to balance sheet, accounts receivables, and you double click and you'll see an invoice for $339.75 from Mr. Gabai. That's one way to do it. So the other $3 is the sale of the 5-inch glick, right? So that's one way we could track our income of 342. You can also go to the customers. That's probably the most direct, because if you're not sure who the customer is, you go to the actually, why did it go to cash receivables? You could go because we're on the cash basis. That's why. You just go into the income. You just go into the merchandise income of MR, and you'll see, where do we get the 342? We have it from Gabai, and we have from 5-inch glick. Where did the cost come from? Go down to 114, double click. 113 was the cost from Rabbi Gabai. And 75 cents, that's our average, is from 5-inch glick. At this rate, MR is a very profitable item. We knew that anyway. If you take an item which costs you 75 cents and you sell it for $3, you're actually making money. Let's look at our other merchandise, which we know is TLS 312. Where do we get 312 TLS? We sold Rabbi Gabai's son, and we sold Rabbi Cohen's son. And conversely, our cost of goods other is the amount, the 35 that we sold. We sold actually 20. Okay. 50 and 20. That's the cost of goods. Here, Bagabe got 25, and our cost is $2 each, is $50. Rabbi Cohen got 10. Yeah, so everything adds up, everything makes sense. So we basically checked our dots, our accounts receivable for 1567 on the balance sheet. We checked the deposited funds. And basically what the last part of inventory edits is fine tuning everything to match, breaking up where we, for example, if I would look at chart of accounts. So for example, number 5 on inventory edits is taking MR and TLS to be cost of goods, MR and TLS respectively. So we already did the MR one, whatever's left, and the TLS, we would change that, and you would have merchandise MR and merchandise TLS by income, and you have cost of goods MR and TLS. So that step 5 we did in part. We could go through it together in class, but you get the idea. And what step 1 and 2 and 3 is doing the same thing on the balance sheet, breaking up the inventory on the balance sheet to know by account. Why is this a negaya? Because someone can have they want to track their inventory, not by a whole dollar amount for all their inventory. They want to break it down by product. They'll have a whole list. We have a bunch of cars. So we sell cars. I want to have $500,000 of car asset. I want to have how many Honda assets do I have? How many in my inventory? How many Honda Odysseys? How many Toyotas? How many Teslas, etc. So you might want to break up your inventory, or in this, it might not be inventory, it'll be on the fixed asset. Yeah, it would be on the inventory if you were reselling it. So you want to break it up by class. So I'm about to go over and show you how to do that. But first, I'm going to look at the Q&A and see what the question is. When you go to make deposits, nothing pops up. I would say X out the bottom X, not the top X, which is the software, but the window, and try to go to make deposits second time. A lot of times it comes with a dead screen for whatever reason, but just try it again. How do you change the price, Mr. Gabay? You just open his invoice and change the $3 to $2.25. That takes care of that. Okay. So Mr. Salmon has a question.
Yeah, hi, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I actually have a few questions. Okay, when I go to Makara's farm, I only have one bill. I don't have two bills, and you were having two bills.
Yeah, because so you still have one as item receipt.
Hey, no, I actually have two bills now. Maybe in Machon Yerushalayim, I only have one bill.
Machon is only one.
And Makara's farm is 150, and they're both bills.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
I don't know how that fixed because it was like that before. And then in that step 3, that's when we were changing it to a bill to pay it. But that's not in step 3. Do we always have to do that when we're creating an invoice? No, only when we get the money, right?
Again, let's use the terms. Invoices are for your customers. You create an invoice for your customer. Bills are what you get that you have to pay to a vendor. Okay. So now what's the question?
So how did we know that in step 3 we had to change it to a bill?
That was on the fly. That was not, you know, everything is 100% scripted. It was a general script. Usually you would receive item and enter bill at the same time. That's why it's actually probably, you know, number one on the
I
job.
make myself a bill when I'm getting something from my vendor. Don't they usually send it to me?
They give it to you, right? But you put it in your computer. You're
So-
not going to create in your. You want to enter into your QuickBooks the bill, so you pay it out, so you can keep track of it, and you also want to put in the bill number for, you know, you don't want the vendor to send you the same two bills for the same order.
Okay, so when I, let's say, buy something from a cars farm, I make the invoice and then they send me a bill and I change it to a bill.
No. Let's say you buy
Was
something from Cars Farm. You could have made a purchase order. We didn't discuss create purchase order. You're sending out an order.
No, sorry. I meant I switched up invoice and inventory. When I, let's say, put in the inventory that I'm buying from a cars farm, that's when I change it to a bill when they send me the bill.
Was that you are not yourself putting an inventory. QuickBooks puts an inventory for you.
Didn't we change it from inventory to a bill?
No, we change it from item receipt to bill. Then yeah, it is inventory as soon as you receive it. You receive it because inventory, but again, there's things which you do and things that QuickBooks do. What you do is you go to receive items. You might receive the item and enter bill, or just receive the item. But by receiving the item, now it's your inventory. But
Oh,
QuickBooks put
the item receipt just recording me getting, like, purchasing the item, let's say.
you received an item. You don't know the price yet. Whatever, you got it.
Okay.
Not always everyone in the company is going to have permissions to know what the cost is, and then they could go into business and compete with the, you know. Yeah, but
Right.
I can't think of every reason, but there are reasons why some people just enter, you know, item receipt. They work in the warehouse. And they don't know what the value of the warehouse is. You know, they sign off. You know, this is what we received. Then they send it upstairs, and then, you know, someone else is going to put in what the bill is, what the cost is.
Right. Okay, fine. Okay, and then I have I have two other questions, and they might be the same question. Okay, so when I go into Five-ish Click, I only have one sales receipt for him for $3. I don't have another one.
They should have, but maybe are you showing only this year's, or are you showing all? Because his last thing was
No.
last year.
Transaction. So I'm thinking, did I put it in someone else?
1 second. You're in Customer Center,
Yeah.
and you're on Five-ish Glick, right?
Yeah. I don't
And
have.
does your
7.
filter by? Do you have show all
Yeah.
date is all, or date is this year?
Well, this fiscal year, that's weird.
So date, so put all.
Okay.
Does it
Okay.
show?
All right. Yeah. So now I have both fine. But then
Yeah.
when I go to balance sheet, I have by undeposited funds 203, by total other current assets 329, and by Chase 168.
1 second. So we just did a bunch of deposits today besides for the $3, just to match up to what it said in the paper. So we never deposited the $70 from Glick. We never put the 75 from Holtz Clapper. We never put the $100 from Cohen from last week, whatever. So today I put in a bunch of deposits.
Right. So I'm just $200 difference because I have
So, hey, now double click on deposited funds. See what it is. I double click. I know that my $3 is the only thing that corresponds to $3 is one item.
so
Five-ish Glick from 525. It happens to be.
I have $203.
If you want the clearest breakdown, go to banking and make deposits. It'll tell you what you didn't deposit yet. Banking, make deposits. Will show up a little screen, and I will see if my Five-ish Glick $3. You'll see whoever you didn't deposit.
I didn't deposit or make home. Wait, so if I deposit it,
You make deposits, then besides for Five-ish Glick will remain the $3 undeposited.
okay, so let me check now. Balance sheet. Okay, but okay, 36. Okay, fine, 106. Okay, fine. Okay, I got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the questions momentarily. I want to see if we could finish off with the inventory. If you go Control A, which is chart of accounts, Control A, chart of accounts, and we look down the list here. Let's see what we have. We have here inventory asset. There's another current asset. Let's not change it actually. This was never. Let's we want to create two sub assets to inventory asset. One is going to be MR, and one is going to be TLS. So we're going to go Control N, and we're going to go to other account types, which is other current assets right over here. Okay, and we see inventory shows up on the right screen as another prepaid expenses, inventory. So we're creating another current asset. And, oh, okay, account name will be MR, and it'll be a sub-account of inventory asset. MR as a sub-account of inventory asset. And we're going to save a new and do the exact same thing for TLS, right? So MR, sub-account of inventory assets, save a new. Account name be TLS, sub-account of inventory assets. Okay, save and close. And this we will see this over here by inventory assets. It's going to show up in the chart of accounts, MR and TLS. We will do the exact same thing for the merchandise income and the cost of goods MR. We'll also we're going to create another income account called TLS and another cost of goods account called TLS. So again, we go Control N, and one will be an income account. Continue TLS, sub account of merchandise, right? We already have MR, so we're making TLS, and we're going to go save a new, and we're going to change account type to expense. And again, TLS, I'm sorry, not expense, cost of goods, right? Cost of goods sold, sub-account of cost of goods. Right, so the type is cost of goods, and the sub-account is cost of goods, save and close. Okay, so we just tweaked this, we just made sure that inventory, okay, we're in the chart of accounts. Now we have under inventory asset, MR and TLS. Under merchandise, we have MR and TLS, both as income accounts. Cost of goods account, MR and TLS. And one final edit is going to change sales to edit to service. So all the things we spoke about, we're just doing right now. So again, to summarize, we have under our income accounts, we have merchandise, MR and TLS, and we have service. So we have service and merchandise. On the cost of goods, we have MR and TLS. And under inventory, MR and TLS. And this basically summarizes all the steps of 1, 2, 3, 4, which we wanted to do. And the only thing we didn't do is we have to correspond in the inventory that that the asset is also MR and TLS. What I mean by that, So let's go, again, we'll close out to homepage. Closing out the homepage. We go company homepage. And we go to items and services. And we're going to edit each of this inventory part of MR to adjust what we just did. Where do we made sure that MR was the cost of goods account. We bill, that means as we sell it, the cost is the sub-account MR of cost of goods. As we make the money, the income is for income MR. But we have to, where's the asset? When it sits by us before it's sold, right? When we have on hand an average of 48 pieces at 35 cents, the inventory asset also needs to be MR. And that's how it will show up on the P&L. We will account for the income and expense in the MR. And in the asset, it will account for MR as well. And the same thing we're going to repeat for TLS. And that, in essence, summarizes what we needed to do. We have to change cost of goods. We drop down to TLS. Income will also be income TLS. And inventory asset is also TLS. I'm sorry, the inventory asset. Again, cost of good asset is TLS, right? We're in item TLS. Merchandise TLS, inventory TLS. I do believe that the way I did it now, even though it wasn't on the script, is a simplified version of what I wrote over there. Right? What does step 2 say? Create a current asset MR, a sub-account of inventory asset. Edit inventory MR to be an asset MR. That was the item that we just did. And now we could see how everything shows up on the reports. Again, we go to our balance sheet. Okay, whoa, P&L. We have the merchandise showing up as MR and TLS, which was before just showing other. And the balance sheet will also give us an inventory broken down by item. As I said, we have $36 worth of MR and $90 worth of TLS. This summarizes basically tonight's class. And whoever has questions, we'll go with the questions. Hopefully, was understood what we discussed. And if not, we'll be happy to help you out through Q&A. Okay, I think P didn't have a question yet, so let's start off with P. Okay, hello.
Yes, hello. Okay,
Yeah.
so my balance sheet is not the same as yours because by Chase, I have a different amount just because I think I never recorded all the things and just because I don't know how to do that. Do you mind telling me how to record the bank?
Okay, I'll tell you what. To go through the numbers, I could give you a little bit of time after I go through the quick questions people have on today's class. But basically, what we did was we did the deposits. We went to make deposits, and we deposit everything besides the $3. That's how it ties out.
When you say everything, which is?
Go to make deposits and see whatever. If you did all the entries, then you have to review. I can't walk you through every single step.
Where do you go to make deposits?
Banking, make deposits.
Okay.
So the come up a window, and anything besides the $3 item
Mhm.
is it needs to be deposited. You could deposit it by the date or not by the date that shows received and not the date that shows received. And then when your report has to be as of this fiscal year to date at least, not a month, or it has to be the whole year. Even though, because you want to know what today's account balance is in the bank, not what it was last week or a month ago.
Right, so whenever you want to show me, I guess.
Listen, I could see based on the time I have allotted, but if you would go over the invoices and the money received, and you make the right deposits, you should end up with 368 in the bank.
And where do you see the money that was received?
No, go to the curriculum. When you make a sales receipt, It received money. So if last week you sold every Cohen $100 of TLS, it should be show up in today's deposits. If we did Holtzklapper $75 of sales receipt, it should be in deposits. If you
I
did,
mean, basically, I'm off like $115 from your balance sheet.
again, first go to make deposits and see what's going on over there. Who didn't do your deposit?
I didn't deposit anybody because I don't know how to do it. That's what I'm saying.
Well, there's at least $145 in deposits. $245. Last time it was negative 77.
Right, so that's what I have. That's exactly my Chase account.
So how can you be up at negative 77 to positive 368? Is 368 plus 77. That's
No,
how
I'm
much you-
talking about the total assets, the 206,143. I
Oh,
have
because okay, so you have some
206,258.
258.
Mhm.
Wait, again, so go. You have a higher accounts receivable, or you have a higher asset. Maybe you what's it called? You put in the 50. What's it called? You didn't put in your purchases at 50 cents, so you put in $1. You have to look at the balance sheet. I'm going to send out today what the current balance sheet and P&L should look like, so everyone will be able to match the numbers.
Yeah, it's totally different. That's all I can tell you. I mean, the accounts receivable is different and the Chase is different. Because I didn't deposit, like I said.
No, that would only change. That would affect undeposited funds to bank. It wouldn't affect accounts receivables. You probably didn't do all the. You didn't do all the sales.
What I did,
What?
I thought I did. The sales were basically Mr. Gabay, right? And 5-ish click, right? Those were the two.
That was today. I don't
That
know
was
what
today.
was
No,
last
I
week.
was up to date till today.
How much accounts receivables?
My accounts receivables is 1882.75.
Okay. Did you change Gabby's per item cost from $3 to $225?
I think I did.
No, you should check step 5. Change the price for the Gabby to $225 per MR.
I did. I changed it.
So what if you go to if you
Where
don't
would I check it? Where would I check it if I changed it?
okay, go to customer center, Mr. Gabay, Rabbi Gabay, whatever you call him. What's his accounts receivables?
Actually, I don't even see him. Interesting.
Customers, on the customers. Not
On the customer, I only have 3 people at this point. I don't know why. Blick and Cone. I don't know what happened to the rest.
I didn't need them up. I don't know who made inactive. I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. That's what I see.
Okay, give me a couple minutes. I'm gonna just see if it will go through the questions and.
No problem. No problem.
Okay, this question at this point, I would recommend anyone on the Q&A should raise their hands on the chat so it could enable the questions here.
I mean, I found the customers at this point.
Yeah.
By
Okay. So what's Gabay's
balance
yeah.
1467.75.
No. So what's his invoice? What's his 2 invoices?
Okay, where do I go for that?
The right one though.
Right window. He actually has 3 invoices. He has one for 1,012.50, one for 453, and one for 225.
No, it wasn't. No, the 453. Okay, you open it as a 453. You have to change the price per each from $3 to $225. So
That's
his
a-
new invoice will be $339.75. You didn't make him a bill for $225. If you look again at what it says, change the price from Mr. Gabay to $225 per MR.
Okay, so how do I change that now?
Okay, so open up his invoice, the bigger invoice,
So
and
go to
change the
customer,
price to two.
Customer,
Well, you were in it already. You saw, double click on that invoice. You
okay.
told me what, with the invoice that's a
What,
four,
that's 453?
yeah, double click on it
Okay,
and go to where it says price $3 and change it to 25.
okay.
And save and close. And the other invoice, you right click, you delete it. You double
Now-
click, delete
Now
it.
it became 339.74.
Yeah, yeah. And the other invoice, go into it and delete it.
Which one, the 225?
It's $225.
No, I have $2.25.
No, double click on it and delete it. Doesn't belong there. I never said to make another invoice for 225.
Mm.
I wanted to change his price to 225. So that's only going to help you with $2.25. You still didn't explain. You said you're off by $100 and something. I don't know what it was. Okay.
Well, that would have made a difference from the 225 to 3.
No, the bigger thing is that that we downgraded this invoice by $100 or something like that.
Right, right.
Okay. So now what is your balance sheet?
Okay, let me go there.
And then I'm going to go over to some other people so they could ask questions also.
Okay, so now it's 206, 256.50.
No, it's off. I'm going to send out my balance sheet and P&L, and you could work on it.
Okay, but like I said, Chase is still at negative 77.
Because you didn't make a deposits, but that's going to only switch the money that's by undeposited funds into your bank. It's going to change in the same way that it's not going to affect your total assets. You're
Mhm,
just moving one asset. It's called a shift in assets.
Right.
Money that's an undeposited, then moving it to bank. So instead of now by me it's 3 and I have 368, so you should have the total is 371
Mhm,
between Chase and undeposited. If your total is more than 371, a positive 371, then you have to figure out why is that. Then you have to go to every other line and see what are you off by. Your summer home is the same, furniture is the same, account receivables is 1567.25. If you have a different number, you got to go back to you have troubleshoot the line that's off. What's the value of inventory? Inventory is only 126. If you have a different value in inventory, that means you must have done something else over there. What's your inventory asset?
126.
Good. So what's your receivables?
Account receivables is 1880.50.
No, so you you made too many bills. You got to go through your receivables and see who doesn't belong there. If you go, let's say, make a report on the customer's receivables, and you go customer balance summary, and you see who owes you money. So only Cook for 140, Gabay for 1352, and Yanko. Anything more than this doesn't belong there.
So again, you go to reports and where?
Reports, customers, receivables, and customer balance summary. You have 1800, and you'll have a breakdown. I have 1567 and a breakdown. So you have to see who are you off.
Mhm.
Okay. Good
Yep.
luck.
Okay.
Okay. Moshe.
Yeah. Okay. I have two questions. One, by pay bills,
Yeah.
I have the Machon Yerushalayim.
Right. You do or you don't?
I don't.
because you didn't convert his item receipts to a bill yet. You have to
Well,
go
how do you do that?
vendors,
Yeah.
enter bill for received items,
Mm-hmm.
choose Machin Yerushalayim.
And select it.
Select vendor Machin Yerushalayim. It should come up in the lower window an item receipt, which from dated whatever it is, which says bill to follow.
And I click OK.
Once I already hear the beep. It's a two-step process. First, you click on that item and you press OK, and then it should open up as a bill. And then you have to press save and close to actually save the bill
Why don't I see it in a big thing?
after you press OK.
Wait a minute. I put in the vendor. I put in Machan Yerushalayim, right?
Yeah, right. Then does it
And
show
then I
up?
click OK.
Well, no, not yet. No. You click the Machan Yerushalayim.
Yeah.
On the window underneath, there should be one line which says an item receipt.
Yeah. Okay, now I see that.
Yeah, highlight it.
Mm-hmm.
Select that and press OK.
Okay, yeah, that's what I did.
Then it's going to open up as a bill.
Right.
That's the first step of converting your item receipt to bill.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you have to make any adjustments at this point, because who said your item receipt is really the amount of the bill? Maybe something changed.
Mm-hmm.
You double check it. Assuming it's right, which it is in this case, press
It's
save and
$100.
close. Save and close. And now it's going to show up when you pay bills.
Oh, okay, and now it shows up.
It just became a bill, yeah.
Okay, and then by my balance sheet,
Yeah.
by inventory assets TLS, I have $60 instead of 90.
So if you double click on it, it's going to show you the history.
Right.
Right. The history. First, we had 60, which is what we dumped in as opening.
Right.
We sold 20. We added 100, and we sold 50 again. So if you take this 160, and
I have 60, and then I sold 30.
we didn't sell 30 to who? To Cohen?
What? Rebecca Cohen was 20. Was a negative 20.
Right. So you have 60, and then you have 20. So what do you got? 30.
Then I have Gabe is 30.
What's it? We didn't sell. What did we sell to Gabriel?
Took in Las Vegas.
But look at last time. We sold 25.
Because I didn't do the on hand part.
Well, it came for free. We sold 25 TLS.
Okay, so if I go to items, yeah, item list,
Yeah.
we have by Tickle Las Vegas, I have 30.
No, we have 45.
Okay, so that's where I went wrong.
Okay, so what you have to do. So again, you have to backdate your adjustment. Well, first of all, what did you sell? How much did you say you have?
I have 30.
But we sold 25.
Because I didn't put in on hand when before you said to click on.
Right. So if you put it on hand, you would have 60 now. You have too much. What did you? You have to go. What did you sell, Gabai? How many did you sell him?
1 minute.
Go to
What else
customers.
is that?
Customers, Gabai. What did you sell him?
1 minute. Customer center. Gabe. I
Yeah.
sold him Gabe 339 and oh, I have
Open,
12.
open his invoice. What did you sell him for 2012?
I sold him 25
Yeah.
for 850.
Good. So you sold him the right amount.
Okay.
So go again. Go back to the history of the inventory. What was the first amount?
I only have 30 on hand.
Okay. No, I'm not looking for what's on hand.
Oh.
By the way, you said your inventory is $60.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see again. Give me all the debits in the shop. We have the first 60.
Hold on.
60
1 minute balance sheet.
What's your debits on inventory?
My debits is 100 for Makar Svarim and
No. Inventory asset. Yeah,
Oh.
100 from 100 McCart's farm. Yeah.
and then I have inventory adjust $30.
You adjusted $30 as opposed to 30 items. So you
Oh.
have to go back to, that's probably what you did last time. You went to vendors, inventory kit activities,
Inventory.
adjust the quantity at hand. So let's see what you did last
Oh,
time. Go back to
okay.
previous. What did you do when you did when you did tikkun l'shavos? What do you do? Difference in the difference quantity difference was 30, but you put probably your value also at 30, right?
Probably that's what I did. So I put it TLS.
No, wait, look, no, don't do a new one. I want you
Oh,
to go to previous. What did you
oh,
do?
previous. Okay.
Go previous.
1 minute.
What was
I
the
just
adjustment that
take
you
it
made?
away. How do you go back to previous?
In the top corner, right under the word edit.
I did 15.
You put 15. So you put okay, put in 30. Because the QuickBooks already knows that the value was $2. We told that. So you have to put the quantity was 30. So once you put that, we adjust the quantity to 30, everything will fall into place.
I do save and close.
Save and close.
And then you said reports.
You don't have reports. Go back to your balance sheet, and it should show up as $90.
Now it's 90. And now everything matches. So the total assets is 206,143.25.
Beautiful, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, we're trying to get to our list down the list here. Shimon.
Yes, hi. I lost track the last part that we did to create chart
All
of
the
accounts.
sub accounts of MR and TLS.
Yeah, I started doing it, but I got confused what to do.
So Control A is chart of accounts.
Right.
You don't have to highlight anything in particular. Just go Control N.
Yeah.
And just keep track. We're doing three. There's three things we want to do. One thing is we want that the inventory should have an MR and LS sub, as you see in my screen. We want the income of merchandise should also have an MR and TLS sub. And we want the cost of goods section to also have a sub MR TLS. And the reason we did it, we explained this is because when we buy something, it's not an expense, it's an inventory asset. So when you originally receive it from a correspondent, from the Cheshlein, it sits in inventory asset, whether the debit inventory and credit the liability, or debit inventory and credit cash, if we bought it. But that's what happens. We got the inventory and we have a liability increase or a cash decrease. Now, when we actually sell it, so we are pulling it, we are making an income in merchandise, where that's the sales, but we're also having an expense in cost of goods. So
I
that's
don't see, by your balance total, I don't see anything by the merchandise.
you're not gonna see what?
I don't see any balance total by merchandise
By
and
merchandise cost of goods? Yeah, because these are temporary accounts. Chart of accounts only show it on the permanent accounts. Bank, assets, liabilities, income and cost of goods never have. Nothing under here shows balances. Expenses don't have balances. You could get a report by date, but it's not fixed.
So why are we splitting it here for the balance sheet?
No, because I explained. So you'll understand when I show you a P&L. I show you what I wanted to do. The objective is I want to match my merchandise sales to my cost of goods. I want to track if my cost of MRs is at least, if my income from MRs is at least, if not greater than my cost. Because maybe now it looks high, but maybe all of a sudden the item is phased out, and I'm going to dump whatever's left. I'm going to sell it out at $1 a piece. So my total sales of MR is going to increase to by $100 or $400. But I'm going to recognize a $2 expense of every cost of goods. Imagine people, example, people want masks. In the beginning, masks were $2 a piece or whatever people were paying for it. All of a sudden, you're getting 100 for $10. It's 10 cents a piece. So the guy's trying to track, my merchandise income started off very high compared to my cost of goods, only because my inventory was valued high. But at the end, when I got to dump all my inventory and recognize the cost of goods, maybe my income is not going up so much. So that's why you want to compare your MR expense to your MR inventory asset, because that's actually what's going to happen. If I go to my balance sheet, in this case, my balance sheet is worth 126. If I have to all of a sudden take my TLS and say, no, TLS is valueless, now it's worth $1. Where am I charging the $89 loss of inventory? It becomes my new cost of goods, right? Because we also, the cost of goods is what pulls out of inventory. And I'm
Right.
going to get no income recognized for it,
Mhm.
right? I didn't make it. I can make one more dollar on TLS off $313.50. All of a sudden, my cost of goods from TLS would go up from 70 to what's $159.
Right.
Give it as an example.
Right.
I'm just showing you also different ways how to change, to create sub accounts. It's not just, you're gonna walk out, from this course. It's not just we call the balance sheet with the $5,000 loss of income. That's not. I'm just showing you how to play around with different options within QuickBooks.
What was the last step? You said you went back to the item list and we changed something by the.
I changed sales to service. As you see that income now?
No, I'm thinking about item list by TLS and by MR. We
Oh
changed.
yeah, I had to change it. Everything should match in the item list. Originally, MR was only listed by the COGS account and by the income, which these two show up on the profit and loss. I went down to the assets and show where do we keep the value of
Uh-huh.
MR under MR asset, and TLS is under TLS asset.
Right.
So that's how you have to tag it. Just changing in chart of accounts is not going to help me.
Mm-hmm.
First, I create these sub accounts, but then I have to take the item and associate it with that. If tomorrow I create a new item called Hanukkah Menorah, right? So I'll have an inventory asset, I'll have merchandise income. But if I don't associate the item Menorah with merchandise Menorah, it's just going to dump it into other. It's not going to know where to go.
Right. Okay. And one more thing, we created before from when we got, from not an invoice, when we got
Item receipt.
right
To bill.
to bill. I'm saying don't bills come from the vendor itself?
It does. So I said a lot of times most often you will receive the item and enter the bill at the same time. But occasionally it could happen that you receive the item and the bill wasn't attached and you're not sure what to enter in. So you're just going to put in automatically. And like I said, when you do the item, it associates a cost with it. If you recall, if I go receive item and put in MR, it will put in that it's $1 a piece of the cost,
Right.
because that's what we put in inventory, but it's still not showing up as a bill, and it's not a bill that you're ready to. You don't recognize yet the expense as far as paying the bill. If you go to the vendor pay bill, it didn't show up until we change it to bill,
Right.
because perhaps you're still going to call up and negotiate it, or maybe and again you could try to think of scenarios where you got the item, you're not 100% sure that was the final price. Maybe the guy called you up and told you, what, I sent it out, but his supplier raised the price on him. So you should know that I have to pass the cost on to you. But the item's there already, right? So you're not sure exactly how much it's going to increase. It doesn't always mean to your benefit, so that works against you. So you put in the item just to show it, and later on you're going to convert it to a bill when you know the final cost.
Mm-hmm.
Or like
Okay.
I said, it's possible under permissions. Maybe not everyone is supposed to know. You might market everything as $1 just to get the item. So someone's tracking in the warehouse item, they're receiving the goods. But then the accounting office is actually going to adjust all the prices to the real price. You get a $10,000 item. You don't want the guy to think. The guy should think it's a piece of junk for $100. You don't want him to think, oh wow, this is what we received today. I'm going to take it home in my minivan.
Right. Okay. Perfect.
Just use imagination. Right. Okay. Who else do we have here under questions? Okay. Not sure. Did Mordechai speak today? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have, for some reason, 148 in inventory for MR instead of 48.
Probably only supposed to sell 51 instead of 151. Go back to Mr. Gabby. And see, probably not only in inventory, probably also what's your accounts receivables. Everything is affected. You know, something has got affected. That, by the way, that's one of the benefits of dual entry, you know, debits and credits. Something you make one mistake, you know, maybe you'll never know to correct it. But when you match it up with something else, which is out of sync, it's going to show you what's the cause of the mistake. So you go to
Right.
customers Rabbi Gabbai, and you look at his invoice, and probably it's way underpriced. It's not it's not $453. Probably more like,
It's 1352.25. I have an invoice for 1,012.50 and 339.75.
yeah.
Exactly like you are.
Right. So the question is, maybe you never entered another 100 received. Could be only received one time 100. You know, go to your vendors. What's your Machin Yerushalayim? What's your Makaras Farm? You owe $100 or $150 or $50.
Karas Farim, I have 150. Machon Yerushalayim, I have 200.
200. So the question should be even bigger. If you have you owe them $100, means you have an extra $100. You should have 248 in inventory. Oh, that's my answer.
I have
You
one.
You have 148 because you received twice 100. You only supposed to.
I have one for Megillas Rus and one for TLS. Which one am I supposed to delete?
Under
Machon Yerushalayim.
No, we never got TLS. We got it from Makaras Farm TLS. Unless you.
Okay, delete this bill. Delete the bill from Machon Yerushalayim.
Okay, Machon Yerushalayim should have a total bill of $100, and that bill is for what? For 100 MRs.
Okay, so delete this.
Makaras Farm should have $150. 100 for
Makaras Farm has 150.
100 for 50 TLSs, and 50 for
Right.
MRs, which we changed the price to cost of 50 cents each.
The 50 is 50 cents each. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, now
Go to your list and item list. What is the drop down now in your inventory? You have TLS is 45, and what is your MR?
no, 1 second. Now TLS is -5, and Megillas Rus still says 148. So then I deleted the wrong one.
Okay, so
7.
you never put in 50. Maybe you put in the wrong item when you put in the 50. You put in the TLS instead of MR. Instead of -5, you should
I have
have
-5 for TLS.
right. So you have to put in 50 TLSs. And you
in
put in 50
inventory.
TLSs. Always. So if you have to make the appropriate adjustment, appropriate bill. If you go to this bill,
so I'm taking in more inventory.
okay. Let's go back to your vendors. What do you have in Machon Yerushalayim?
I have 100. A bill for 100.
100. Double
$100.
What's
Yeah.
the bill? What's the bill
Quantity 100 had $1 a piece from Megillas
Good.
Rus.
for? Fine. Let's go Makaras Farm. What's your two bills?
Makaras Farm is one for 100 pieces of 50 cents,
Okay.
and the other one is for
No, what's the $100 bill?
100.
Yeah.
MR 100.
No, so that's
$1
the reverse. It's TLS at 50 at $2. And that's going to set off both things. You're going to transfer the extra 100
Yeah.
that you put in as MR. It's really same thing. The 100 MR is supposed to be 50 TLS.
See, at
So you're gonna
$2.
reduce- Yeah, so that's why you're gonna have now proper 45 there, and you're gonna reduce your other one by 100.
$2. And then I have to change it. Yeah, okay. That's the amount.
QuickBooks will make the adjustment by itself. You go
Saving
back to
plus.
Islands, you'll see the 148 is now 48, and the -5 is 45.
List, item list. 48 and 45, yeah.
Okay, fine.
Okay, now also when you're going through the deposits, I accidentally I thought you were going to deposit all of them, and I deposited more than you ended up doing.
Basically just the $3, right?
So I deposited the $3 or I also deposited the 70. But one of them I
No,
deposited.
it's fine. It was three that I was just trying to show a full balance sheet where you have every item listed there. You have a bank, you have a receivable, you have an inventory, you have undeposited funds. But if your total bank is 371, it's the same as if you left $3 in undeposited.
Balance
If you don't
sheet
have,
there.
if your Chase is not 371, then we have a question.
Chase. No, my Chase is 171.
Okay, so you're missing $200. You never got the $200 from Cohen. At some step, we received this $200. If you go to Customer Center, you'll see that you have an open balance of $200 for every Cohen.
No, $0. Oh, I see undeposited funds for 200.
Oh, so you didn't deposit $200. Okay. So if you deposit it, you would have 371, right? If you take the total of undeposited plus bank, it'll be 371.
Okay, and so how do I?
The same thing. You could deposit 200. You could undeposit the 3. Again, there's no test on this right now. As long as you're getting.
Right. Okay, so how do I deposit? Can I deposit directly from the customer center?
You can do banking and make deposits. You could deposit from the homepage. If you're on the homepage, you go to make the what's it called? There's a banking section. The company homepage. In the bottom right, there's where's this here? Record deposits.
Mhm.
Probably
Okay,
this-
just doing it from the banking. Save and close.
record deposits. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see who else is still out there. Second. One second here. Okay, May has a question. Does MA have a question still, or the question was answered?
Yes. I have a question. I can't, when I put the, when I want to change the MR, it's the sub account and inventory asset, and I hit the save and close. It says you can't make an account a sub account of itself.
So it seems you already did it. You already have an MR.
And it says the same thing about number 2 also, create a current assets of MR, and then the first one also, it told me the same, it gave me the same warning.
Okay, again, question like this: if you Control A, which is your, so what did I just do here? They reverse something. I think I flip. Yeah, I think I just changed the camera mistake. If you would go to Control A, which
Yeah.
is chart of accounts, do you see inventory asset broken down to MR and TLS?
No, I see inventory assets. No.
Do you see your merchandise? Huh?
Merchandise, MR, I see. I see a whole list. Account receivable, inventory assets, undeposited funds.
Right. So by inventory asset, there's no subs underneath it like I have in my screen.
No.
Okay, so that's what we're trying to do. So if you do Control N, what happens? Do Control N, and then what do you do? You could how are you creating new assets of MRTL? What do you do?
So, 1 second. It says the data has changed. Do you wish to save it?
No, press no. Go back. Let's go step by step. Go chart of accounts. Control N.
1 second. Where do I go? 1 second.
Control A. Control N.
Control A. Inventory asset. 1 second. Right click. And then going down to, should I go to edit account on inventory asset?
What?
Should I go to edit account?
No. Listen to what I'm asking you. Control A. Control N. You should have a screen as I have it on the monitor.
Okay, yeah. Categorize money your business earned or spent.
Yeah. What are we creating now? We're creating a sub account of inventory.
Right.
Right. Is it income? Is it expense? Is it a bank? Is it a credit card?
Income.
No, we're doing
No.
inventory.
Right.
And I said income and expenses on the P&L. Everything else shows up on the balance sheet. So on the balance sheet, you have assets, banks, loans, right? But it's not a fixed asset, which is a major purchase. If we have to look at other account types, and I said we have other current asset, drop down. And if you click on other current asset, it'll tell you what is a current asset. Something which is not money, but it could be converted to cash, or it could be used in 1 year.
Right.
If your expenses, you paid for your insurance for next year, it's not an expense yet because you paid your car insurance for the next 5 months. It's an asset because if you cancel your insurance and give back your car, they'll refund you the money.
Yeah.
So it's an asset. Inventory be converted to cash because you sell it.
Right.
Exactly. So you go other current assets, continue, and it's going to tell you what type of other current assets. And you're going to write MR, account name is MR, a sub account of inventory asset. I happen to have it here already,
Right.
but you don't have it. So you're going to do MR sub account inventory asset. And then you do save and new and go through the exact same process, TLS by account name, if it's to create other current asset, account name TLS, sub account of inventory asset.
Okay.
And after you do this, you do the
How do I
exact.
check if it's there?
It's going to be there when you come back. When you come back to save and new to do TLS, you'll see it.
Okay.
You're going to put TLS, yes, sub account, and when you drop down, you'll see it on the inventory. It's the MR already. So now you know.
Okay.
Then you're going to save and new, and you do the exact same thing for account type income, right? The drop down income, and you're going to create an MR and TLS, the sub account of your income.
Okay.
Of merchandise. I'm sorry, of merchandise, right? That's what when you
Sub account of merchandise, right?
But under income, sub account of merchandise, you want to have MRTLS. And then after you do that twice, do the exact same thing a third time for account type cost of goods. And account type you do account name MR and TLS, sub account of the cost of goods. So now you're going to have for the income, which is the top part of the profit and loss, for the cost of goods, which is the middle of the part, profit and loss, under the cost of goods, and also on the balance sheet, the inventory, all of it will be broken up by MR and TLS. That way you could track the sales of Megillus Rus against its cost, against what you keep in your warehouse. Same TLS in the same fashion.
Okay.
Then don't forget, you got to link the items to it as well. So you have to go into your item lists and take those two, the item of MR, and make sure that now the cost of goods account is linked to MR for MR, and the merchandise MR, and the inventory is MR.
So I do it once for income, and then the third time, like, will be
For cost of goods.
sold.
Right, yeah. And those three things show up in the item list. You have one for cost and goods MR, you have merchandise income MR, and you have inventory MR. So it's in three places. And then everything should fit into place.
Okay.
Now I'm going to send out the my balance sheet and profit and loss as it should be, so to match up.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Just checking numbers now. MA. Okay. We'll get back in a second. Simon, you have a question?
Yes, I did the first part. When it comes to doing the what's it called, the merchandise and cost of goods, it's coming up an error.
What's the error?
If I
Wait, you told we're trying to create the MR and TLS?
yes,
Did you
no, I already did the inventory asset. I already created MR and
Okay,
TLS.
right. I did the exact same thing just now for MA a minute ago. Were you listening?
No, I was with you, but when I come to merchandise and I want to create a new for merchandise,
Yeah.
and I put them for income, and when I put in the sub account of merchandise, I have an error coming up.
I'm not exactly. Let's see. If you do control.
And
Not in this one though. This is the
okay,
item.
so I go. I went to the
That's
merchandise.
Control N. You don't have to be highlighted on anything. Just Control N.
Okay.
What are you doing now? You're doing income, right? You make a new income account. Continue.
Continue.
Product
Then I
sales.
go account name TLS.
Take account TLS, sub account of merchandise. What's the problem?
Account name TLS.
Account name TLS, sub account of merchandise.
So sub account, I put in merchandise.
Do you have TLS there already?
Where in sub account?
You go sub account. You got to get a drop down.
Is merchandise sales income?
Okay, so you don't have TLS yet.
No, I put in merchandise.
So do account type income, account name TLS, sub account of merchandise.
So when I do that and I press now save.
Save and new. Save and new.
Save and new. I have an error. This
What's
name is
that?
already in use. Please use another name.
So you already have it in there. Where did you put it?
I'm not sure. I don't see it over here.
And you could have a couple of. Do this. Why don't you go drop down your sub account?
Where should I go?
You're in income now. Sub account. Drop that. What shows up on sub account?
Sub account merchandise sales income.
Okay, you created TLS on the income. Let's go back to the chart of accounts.
Yes.
How many income accounts do you have here?
1 second. What do you mean?
On the type, you have income down there.
My merchandise?
Second from the right, income. See where's income? How many incomes accounts you have?
Let me look at you. I have 1 second. My merchandise, I have 1, 2, 3.
What do you have? Merchandise?
Merchandise, sales income.
Sales income. Okay, I'm not sure why you have sales income. You only had one, which is called sales income and sales. What do you have in the cost of goods?
I have only one.
Okay. Let me see. Sorted by name, which is going to mix everything up. Sorted by name. Do you have anything showing up as MRTLS?
What do you mean by name?
You click on name. So
yeah, okay.
It's going to mix everything up in alphabetical order, as opposed to account types, which is the default.
Okay, so I see over here 1 MR, 1 TLS under inventory asset.
Yeah, by asset. Separately or on a sub inventory asset?
A sub.
Okay, and Okay, so let's try this one more. X out your windows, first of all. Window, close all your windows. Window, drop down, close all.
Yes.
See, is any windows stopping view, or it just goes down to
I'm now by the blank window.
you have a blank window like now, right? Like I
Yes.
am now? Good.
Yes.
Control A, Control N.
Control A. Okay. Control N. And
Okay.
income.
Income,
Continue.
continue.
Account name. TLS.
Start with MR, do MR.
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 Okay. Sub account check. Merchandise. Save a new. The name is already in use. Please use another name.
Where do you use it?
Sure.
You know, I know you could go to your lists, your item list. Double click on your
one
item. Double click your item MR.
MR. Yes.
Okay. What is your COGS account? What is your income account?
Cost of goods sold
Yeah.
and merchandise. Both say MR actually.
You do have it. So you have a
No.
sub MR. You
Well,
already have
I
it.
don't.
Cost of goods MR and merchandise MR.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah.
So and if you made a P&L, made
Go to
profit and loss,
One second. PNL
P&L report,
report. PNL standard. 1 second.
standard, yeah. Are you showing sales
second,
broken down on the,
Fiscal year. So I see over here cost of goods sold. I only have MR
so you have MR already. So you
and
already did,
merchandise only MR.
okay, so MR was already created.
But I don't see it on my. Okay.
So it's already there. It's there and in your chart of accounts. You have to find it there. Maybe you collapsed it, which doesn't make sense to collapse it. It'll still be there anyway.
But when it comes to the TLF, I don't have.
So 1 second. So let's try again. Not on the income. You have to,
Where should I go?
trying to think where to go. And control. Control N.
Control N. Yeah.
Expense.
1 second.
Well, actually, expense. Control N.
Okay. Control A first. I have to go back to my chart account.
Yeah.
Control
So,
A.
so 1 second. So stop right here. By merchandise, you don't have an MR.
Buy merchandise. 1 second.
Under merchandise, you don't have MR. You had it in P&L. Got to be here.
Merchandise. This is by name. I think I changed around before. Inventory asset, merchandise. No, I have only merchandise. Only one income, merchandise. I don't have any.
It's definitely there because it's coming up in your P&L as a sub MR as a sub of merchandise. So sort it by type.
What?
You sort it by type.
I sorted by type. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have your income account merchant.
But the TLF I don't have. I'm saying even on the balance sheet.
It's not on the balance sheet, even on
I'm
your.
saying on profit and loss.
Right. So I can't see a screen right now, and I'm really running on overtime right now. We could try to take a quick look at this thing maybe next class if you share your screen. 1 second. Yeah. 1 second. You want to? Could you share your screen? Hello?
Yes.
You could share your screen?
What do I do?
In the drop down in the Zoom.
1 second. In the Zoom.
Yeah, if you go to share screen.
Where would I find? Shared screen. Yes.
Yeah, and choose your QuickBooks.
Share screen. Okay.
If you think of a choice, choose your QuickBook file.
And the bottom, the green arrow, share screen.
Bottom which is share screen, then click, and it's gonna bring up
It says the error coming up. Zoom error. Host disable. You disabled participant
Oh.
screen sharing.
Yeah, you can, right? Who can check? You know what? Okay. Try now.
Okay. This one. Share. Okay.
Okay, you have your inventory asset MRTLS. Scroll down. Okay. Yeah, you edited merchandise here. Scroll further down. Scroll all the way down. Let me see
Wait, the bottom.
yeah, I'm gonna go through the whole on the rent expense, total expense. Sales order, I don't know, purchase order, sales order. Okay, scroll back up a second. You go back, go to your lists again.
Yeah.
Item list. Double click on MR. Okay. Let me see a drop down for cost of goods sold MR. You have another code of the star. Okay. You don't need that star there. Okay. Unclick that a second.
Unclick what?
Get out of this drop down and go to the right side again. Drop that down.
Yeah, where's that?
You can come. Merchandise. Income account. Okay, I'm not sure what's happening on your end. I see. First of all, you crossed your items. If you go to your asset account, it seems like I see a T. Yeah, you probably have a T. Your MR is connected to your asset TLS, so it exists already. Hello?
Yes.
Drop down your asset account TLS.
My asset account. Yeah.
Okay, drop down. Change that to MR.
Okay.
So now everything is MR. Before you had MR TLS. Now it's now you can press OK.
Okay.
Press X the window. Now go to double click your TLS.
1 second. Back to lists.
No. Your item list, yeah. TLS. COGS account. Put a colon.
Where? Where?
After sold. Put a colon. TLS.
Oops, sorry.
Tab.
Yes.
Tab. Press tab. Setup.
Okay.
Okay, press save and close.
Do it over here also.
Yeah.
Merchandise.
Yeah.
TLS.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Save and close.
It's like what's over here? Oh, an active element.
I'm not sure what's.
Make it active.
I'm not sure what this is exactly. What's your income account merchandise? You made it in, you deactivated that account. That's why it's not showing up. Make it active. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what happened. You probably didn't realize you made it inactive, your merchandise.
Oh,
So, that's okay.
okay.
I
I'll
close
go back
it.
to the,
Now you go make a P&L, you're gonna show up everything.
I do Control A to see if it's back. It's there. By,
You have cost of good.
of course, I'm going to have TLS.
You have merchandise TLS, you have cost of goods TLS, but you don't have your merchandise.
I don't have both MRs.
You don't have MR.
Maybe we should go
So
back.
go to account on the bottom and press show inactive accounts. Show inactive accounts.
Oh, whoa.
Okay, look what you did over here. You created
Oh.
MRs and you deactivated them. That's why it was that was your issues.
So what should I do now?
Okay, so you see what happened. If it was there, it was there. You had to find your inactive accounts.
What should I do now?
You could reactivate your accounts.
Which one? I'm thinking,
The MR.
yes.
Right click it, enter it, and edit it, and make account active. Right there, make account active. Drop down. Well, two lines down. And
What's
you made TLS a sub of TLS. You could deactivate this one as well.
Which one? First TLS?
Well, no way. You only want one. The merchandise MR and the RTLS.
Let me see how the
Okay,
income.
wait, I really gotta go now. You gotta play around with this thing to make it. You're gonna match the report
Okay,
stuff.
no problem. One more thing. The last thing we did, we changed by the list everything from sales to service, all four stuff.
One thing.
Which
No,
one?
no. I just changed. No. I just changed sales to service.
See, oh, okay, no problem. All
That's
right.
it. Bye.
Okay. Shkoyach.
Cancel. Okay. Okay. I hope we'll be able to solve most of the questions we had today. We did. We went really over time, and hopefully next time we're gonna make a small review on a couple of today's items, and we're gonna move on to discussing some of the year-end adjustments.